Hello, Fearless Gamers, and welcome to another podcast here on Fearless Games. I'm Matt the Vet, and today I'm joined by...
James the Wildcard.
Welcome back. How's it going?
Pretty good. How's it going?
Pretty good. Some interesting things have happened since we last talked.
Not really, but we'll pretend they're interesting for the Fearless Gamers.
A lot of interesting. Oh, you're totally interested, I can tell. First and foremost, for the video game fans out there, Nintendo has renewed the Metroid Prime trademark, so we might see a new Metroid Prime game.
That'll be interesting. You know, I would like to see a nice Metroid game come out.
Yeah, something to make up for other M.
Not even just to make up, just something... It'll be refreshing to have a nice, Metroid game because it hasn't been around really, It's always like, you always hear about the Marios and the Zeldas and the whatnots, but Metroid kind of, needs more attention.
Hopefully that actually happens. I've actually never beaten a Metroid game, personally. I tried to play Metroid Prime on the Wii, and I got stuck, and I couldn't get out of my stuckiness.
Gotcha.
We got some other new stuff here. We've got... Warmachine, recently, Privateer Press has released a new Warmachine supplement book coming out next year called Vengeance.
Oh, man.
It continues the story that they've been building in all the books, and in it you get new Warcasters, including new epic versions of some of Warmachine's original Warcasters, because some of them have not had epic versions yet. 6 new character novice warcasters who bring even more arcade support to their armies. New units and solos to expand Warmachine's armies with new strategic possibilities. New narrative fiction picking up directly after the harrowing events of Warmachine Colossals. A painting and modeling guide to help you prepare your forces for battle. Themed force lists for each new Warcaster, which allow you to create armies based on specialized forces found in the Warmachine world. And they've got 3 new releases. The Trencher Infantry with 3 weapon attachments, the Mechanothralls for Cricks, and the Horde's High Command new expansion, Elemental Rage.
Huh.
So, a lot of cool stuff, and one thing that Warmachine is doing, which is pretty cool, they're actually offering 2 versions of the book. One that is, soft cover for $34.99, and again, this comes out March 19th, 2014, and then there's a hardcover for those hardcore fans for $44.99.
That's nice.
I like that they give you the option of whether you want a brick or if you want something easy to carry.
I guess. Yeah, that's nice. It just sounds like the game's getting bigger and bigger, and it's going away from how it started, which is a natural evolution or something like that.
Surprisingly, though, like I've gone to a couple of games. It's the size and scope of the armies have still stayed the same. It still is a skirmish game, but you now have a lot more options to do a lot more creative combinations, and they give you the whole story that you can play out. Because in each book, they give you a list of scenarios to play to actually play out the events that are happening in the game.
Well, that's part in the fact that people keep the points low. Like, I could play in 1,000-point 40K games forever and say it's a small game. Like, you're gonna see, it's inevitable. As more and more content comes out, you're gonna want your players to be able to, not the company, but tournament organizers are gonna be like, you know what, we want more people who can introduce more. So it's gonna get bigger. And it's not a problem. It's just that, luckily, bigger doesn't mean like 40 more units. It can mean 2 or 3 in this case.
I don't know if I'm gonna, if it will get bigger, per chance. I think we won't really know until the book comes out and I see what a bunch of the tournaments are like. But so far, I've seen them keep it close to 100 points lately. So I will be very shocked if it goes up another 50.
Yeah,
which they tend to do 50-point increments.
Yeah, 100 is big compared to how it was like 5 years ago. I mean...
5 years ago, it was like 40K style.
Yeah, but I mean, 100 point costs, 100 points. I remember when I first started hearing about Warmachine, they were playing way smaller games.
You could play a lot smaller. You could do like 20, 25 points, but back in its first incarnation, you were doing like 1,500, 2,000 point games.
Well, yeah, but I mean...
Like in that one game that you saw in my group, point-wise, that was, I think, a 2,000 point game that I played in that one time.
Yeah, but I mean, that just sounds like they converted the point system over a bit, but...
They did convert the point system because, like, Warjack used to be like 50 points, now he's 5 points.
Right, see, so that's the difference there. But I mean, like, I remember hearing plenty of people playing stuff like 25, maybe 30 points, now you're up to like 100 or whatever. It's getting...
30, from what I've been told, 30 is your casual game now.
Right, which is, interesting.
Which is because, like, I got 15 points, and they're like, oh, okay, you got a starter set. Cool. We can do a starter set match. Which is fun and all, but starter set matches apparently get very stagnant, which I could see because you could only do, like, 1 Warcaster and 2 Jacks, and there it is.
Yeah, I mean, there you go. But, no, but that's cool. I got something for people on the PC side.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Because we're going to get all the PC raging.
Exactly. But I don't know if any Fearless gamers remember this game from, I forget when it came out.
I remember everything.
But it was back when I was in high school, called Allegiance. Yeah, it came out in 2000. It was made by Microsoft. Allegiance was basically a real-time strategy / piloting space combat game. You had a commander who would be like the strategy game person. He would like issue orders and build outposts and do things. So it had a strategy element to it. But then a bulk of the players on either side were kind of doing like fighter simulation. And it was cool because it was space combat, and you built up to eventually you got capital ships. And the capital ships, what was cool about them is you piloted it and you had the main gun, but then people could jump in like the 6 turrets. So you could have like 7 people in this one ship, but you got 6 independently acting turrets just blowing everything out of the sky. It won the award from GameSpot as best game no one played because it had a very steep learning curve, but it was a lot of fun. And the reason I bring it up is because if you go to freeallegiance.com, that's a free to download to play. It's a free multiplayer. It's basically the game, but it's free to play. So,
interesting.
If anybody's interested in space combat and wants to try something different than what's out there, which isn't too much, and likes the idea of maybe becoming the commander and doing the strategy thing, because you actually have worker drones, like ships that go out and mine asteroids and build outposts, and you can... It's not just like one map and you go from one into the thing. What's pretty cool is you would warp to different sections of the map to show how big it is, quote-unquote. And what's cool is if you issue an order, like I could issue the order to you, say, you go to this nav point. If you accept that, it'll autopilot to there for you, so you don't have to go, where is it? So
I don't like that. I want to get lost in space.
Basically. You can go through the planet. But,
through the planet.
So it's Allegiance. Again, it's freeallegiance.com. I'm tempted to download it because I remember that game being a lot of fun. It had 4 factions, human factions, then Microsoft introduced, I believe, a 5th faction was an alien, and then they stopped supporting the game, so people were able to make their own factions, things like 8 now or something like that.
Huh.
So Allegiance, it was one of the, especially at its time, one of the best like space fighting sim / strategy. Well, because I had strategy in it, but it was really, it felt the whole point is to take out the enemy's command center thing, which is like a floating space station, and it did a good job. I remember going towards one of the warp barriers or something like that with like a pretty decent fighter, and then an enemy capital ship just came out of nowhere, came through it, and I was like, oh god. Oh no. And I swiftly got destroyed.
That sounds neat.
Yeah.
No, especially the part where you died.
Of course. But, so yeah, I just wanted to bring that up because since we were talking about space combat last time, and I stumbled across that because it made me, I looked it up and I stumbled across the free-to-play one. But, I was like, what is the name of that game from long ago that nobody played?
Except for me.
Yeah.
I was by myself.
So, Yep.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying it was fun, and it did have a steep learning curve. I will put that as a forewarn. It's gonna have a steep learning curve.
Some interesting news. There's one that's drenched heavily in rumor salt, so I'm gonna go to that second. But the first one is have you seen the new Night Lords for the Horus Heresy series from Forge World?
Yes, the Night Lord. I forget the name
Raptors.
of the Raptors, whatever. They look very cool.
The Night Lord Night Raptors.
I
like
look cool.
them a
The
lot.
Iron Hand Medusa and Immortals look cool.
I haven't seen those guys yet.
They're basically Iron Hands with big shields and then with guns.
Oh, these guys. Yep. They look pretty cool.
And even Lorgar, who some people are complaining because he looks fat, he doesn't look fat, it's the armor.
He doesn't look fat. I don't get why everyone says he's got a pot belly. He does not.
No.
Look at him profile. He does not have a pot belly.
Yeah,
he's got a giant breastplate.
Yeah, and also, who cares if he had a pot belly? Who says a Primarch can't have a bit of a belly? But
look at Magnus. He's always drawn fairly heavy set.
Oh, he's drawn gigantic. I mean, he's drawn...
I'm just saying, in general, he's not only drawn huge, he's drawn, like fat guy huge also.
Yeah.
And no one ever seems to complain that he looks very portly in his armor.
Yeah. Oh, I will say this about Lorgar's armor. I'm glad I don't have to paint it. Oh, my God.
Why do you say that?
It's so intricate. When you look at his armor, it's got all, these,
Oh, you're saying you're glad you don't own him.
Yeah, I'm glad I don't want not that I don't want to get him, but I'm glad I don't have that model and need to paint it because holy.
It is pretty neat, but it looks fairly simple. At least with the carvings, it looks more intimidating than anything.
Well, the problem with it looks like getting it in there and then doing the touch-ups without having to, and then not getting the touch-up paint over there.
What I like is that he's not in a battle pose and he's not screaming his head off.
Yeah, I like that. It's a pose very fitting of Lorgar because Lorgar wasn't the most battle of the Primarchs. He was he was more of a scholar. Although his weapon is going to be a pain in the paint because it's got that ball inside the spikes and the ball got incense. It's like what's with you and all of your ruins?
Yep. I do like his base, but the only thing that I'm a little meh about is I'm wondering how much of it, the size of it makes me wonder how much of it was his crap he's not worth 50 pounds. Make him a bigger base!
I don't know. I mean, he's the base aside, not his display base.
He's fairly tall.
He is fairly tall. I mean, his actual base does lend him a decent amount of height, but... Yeah.
His display base is just huge.
It is. His display base is huge, but I think even without the display base, he's kind of pushing the upper echelons of his pricing. But with the display base, obviously he looks, and it'll look cool on the
he looks beautiful with it.
Yeah.
I like that whole altar thing that they've got going with the flaming skulls.
Yeah, I mean I just like that he's a pretty cool looking model. And I don't think he looks like he's fat or anything like that.
I don't. He's not fat. He's big armored.
He's big armored. Yes, but the Night Raptors look pretty cool, and the Medusan Immortals look pretty cool.
What I like about the Night Lords is they really went with the whole spewing flesh over their bodies to scare people.
Oh, they went with the whole we're murderers.
Yeah, I like just how you see the severed heads and the skin just flapping around and the skull masks. I just think it looks really cool.
And the looks like gloves made out of skin and everything like that.
Yeah, it actually fits very much the description that I was reading in that book that I was reading. I can't do a review on because most of my opinion is affected by the fact that I didn't read the other books.
But the Night Lords have always been kind of cool. I've always liked that aspect of terror, and this is very much fitting into their terror tactics.
Yeah.
Forge Roll again just pumps out good-looking stuff.
Good-looking stuff. And Forge World did go a little crazy lately. They released their add-ons to the Escalation book.
They did. I mean, it wasn't too bad. It's a lot of you're never going to own this anyway.
The Phantom Titan, you're like, really, guys? You really want people to throw in a 1,500 point model into a regular 40k game.
Well, it's not that they want. They're giving you the option because they know somebody out there wants to do it. And that's fine. And it's like, okay, you have that and an HQ and 2 minimum troop choices. Good luck.
If that.
Yeah, good luck. Depending on
you might only have a troop choice with that.
But,
well, no, Eldar are pretty, let's see, Eldar are pretty cheap, so you can probably get 2 squads of Guardians and a Farseer, and that's your army.
Yeah, but they don't have no upgrades for anything.
Yeah, but, you know, like, okay, the Cobra's fine, you know, the Warhound Titan, okay, they need something to compete against the other Reverend Titan, and the Warhound isn't too terrible.
Well, the Reaver's there, too.
Yeah, like, you know, some of the stuff I was just like, say, what? And then other stuff I was like, okay, I can understand this. Like, the Chaos one got a very small list. Like, I was shocked they didn't throw in the Chaos Demons.
They did.
Oh, no, wait, they're in the Chaos Demons
yeah,
section.
the Chaos Demons are in the Chaos Demons. I feel best on Necrons. We got a pylon. It doesn't move. Hooray!
Yeah, you couldn't even get your whole network system.
Yeah, but it's just like, poor Necrons.
And Tau got some cool stuff they're not allowed to ban. Oh, they are allowed to ban stuff.
Yeah, but hey, good luck. You'll never have you have, that's purely an Apocalypse point cost game for that.
Yeah. Well, no, I think the stuff it comes transported with is incorporated into its points value.
I don't know. I don't think it is. I think it's just there because you spent a lot of money on the beta. So, I mean,
but
a lot of the stuff, I think, you know, it's cool that it's there. It gives them the options. It's open, and Forge World's doing that. So you go, hey, I'll buy a Forge World model and spend more and give money to Forge World so I can get these models to play them. But a lot of it's like, yeah, you're never going to see this because nobody owns these because nobody has the money to own these in a lot of areas.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of us want to own them, but...
Like, I like the whole Thunderhawk thing. That's great.
Yeah.
Don't own one, but it's awesome.
And we've got a second edition, we've got Imperial Armor Volume 1 second edition errata.
Mm-hmm.
As well as, I believe, a release of... Yes, we have an Imperial Armor Volume 2 second edition that just came out.
Yep.
With a whole bunch of new and updated stuff.
Yeah, it's about time.
Yep. Well, it's the only thing I'm just not happy about is the fact that they did this instead of just erratating the other books. You know? Well, it's just me.
I'm okay. It's about time. I think they should have done that earlier because that book, I own the second edition, the second volume 2 book, and that book's ruling was back like
in third.
So like the amount of errata they would have had to done was basically rewriting the book. So they might as well just rewrite.
True.
But it's just they should have done that. I don't know. When 6th edition first came out, or something.
And so now we go on to the salty taste of salt part of our programming.
Well, quickly before that.
Okay.
The Forge World Space Marine Chapter Tactics PDF lets you see exactly how you can run like all the Forge World specific stuff that's been printed.
That's right. I forgot about that.
So you have the Red Scorpions, the Caradons, the Howling Griffins, Lamenters, Marines Arons, Fire Angels, the Raptors, the Exorcists, which is awesome, the Mantis Warriors, the Executioners, the Angels Revenant, the Red Hunters, Star Phantoms, the Minotaurs, the Nova Marines, the Sons of Medusa, the Firehawks, the Astral Claws, and that's all of them. So now
a partridge in a pear tree.
Exactly. So if you're interested in running those in 6th edition 40k, which I'm sure a lot of you are, I'm interested in the Exorcist specifically. You can do it.
Yeah, I don't know who they are, but awesome.
Yeah, but it's just, I thought that was pretty cool. It's like, hey, remember all those chapters that we did in Forge World? Here you go. Here's how you can play them without using the book they came in, which is kind of cool. And
speaking of partridges in pear trees, there is someone who supposedly posted the whole complete list of data sheets that are coming out for the GW calendar. I say take this with a grain of salt because you don't, I've been, comparing this image with every day just to see how closely accurate it is. And so far it's up to date. Today is the release of Dante, which is just a little info sheet on Dante if you don't know anything about Dante. And there are 2 things that everyone's got their interest in. First is Carnage, a 4-person scenario for 40k, which I think would be cool to run because there happens to be 4 of us.
Yeah, that's cool, and the Dante thing's pretty cool. Although I'm not seeing the emo hair and the long jacket and the swords with the guns. I don't get it. Oh, different Dante.
Yeah, not that Dante.
A better Dante. Gotcha.
Hey, Devil May Cry Dante's awesome.
Okay, yeah, but put him up against Dante, Commander of the Blood Angels.
He'd still probably win. He'd just get his butt kicked a couple of times because he doesn't die in cutscenes.
He doesn't die in cutscenes.
Everyone's going crazy over this other image, which is Kill Team. Everyone's going, OMG, we're getting Kill Team rules back. But one thing that I will point out, if this is true, in this image, it doesn't say data slate, which means it's not a rule set, it is a fluff book on kill teams. Because all the other data sheets all have the word data slate on top of them, or tactical, indicating that they have game rules in them. And this one does not.
Is this one rumored to come out?
Yes.
Okay.
Here, I'll send you a picture of it, if you'd like to look at it.
Oh man, that's really cool.
What?
Well, it depends. I have to see what this is. How does this work? I mean, it doesn't really do anything, it looks like. This one I'm looking at, the Terminus Est, which is Index Chaotica, it's the flagship of...
the plague bear.
Yeah, Typhus.
Yep. Which is cool. It had rules in the NBFG, and it was pretty nasty.
Yeah, but it's always cool that... it may not be, this clearly doesn't really state that there's rules for anything about this book. But
it's just a reading.
It's just a reading of it, but the fact that they're even supporting that is cool.
Yeah. But this thing is the same deal. It's just I'm pretty sure it's just a novel about kill teams. But the one thing everyone's going crazy over is that on day 25, we've got Data Slate Cyhper, Lord of the Fallen. And people have also noted if you go to the Games Workshop website, Cypher's model has jumped from the very bottom of the list to the top, near the top of the list, just under the last 2 Finecast HQ models.
Yeah, but let's not blow out of proportion.
But that seems to be something interesting that they threw him higher up on the list so you can find him a little easier in the HQ section of the Chaos section.
Well, I don't know.
And plus...
But I last checked he was there in that same spot, so I don't know when they did that.
Last time I checked, he was at the very bottom of the list.
I don't know. I think what they did is... I don't know. From what I remember, I didn't have to scroll way to the bottom. I think, if anything, they put him there being a named special character. So he's closer to the Finecast ones. He's not in there because he's not Finecast, but he probably never will be.
It's very odd because there's some models in here that are, like, they have 2... Oh, no, wait, no. Yeah, they have 2, one pewter model right wedged in between.
Yeah, there's also multiple.
And they dumped him on the bottom.
Well, which one is the pewter one?
The Chaos Terminator Lord.
Oh yeah, him. Oh, because he's the only other Terminator thing. I mean, you have the cool one, which can make a Terminator Sorcerer as well. That's a really great plastic kit. I really like that kit a lot. The Chaos Space Marine Terminator Lord. But I do like that old school Terminator Lord. The
I like his helmet.
His helmet's pretty cool. I like that he's got, like, the gun's got, it's a combi bolter with the melter gun, looks like, and a chain blade next to it. He's got everything strapped to that gun.
Yep. And I find it interesting that if this is the correct title for it, that they call Cyhper the Lord of the Fallen.
Yeah, I mean, it's if anything, that would be unofficial, I mean, he's the biggest. I would be surprised if they turned him off to make him like the leader of all the Fallen, because so many Fallen, not so many, but Fallen, either some of them are Chaos corrupted, like possessed almost, like that corrupted by Chaos. Some of them are just ambivalent, and just want to live the rest of their days not being found. Like, not all of them are trying to destroy the Imperium or maintain themselves as Space Marines.
I think they call him, I think his idea of the title Lord of the Fallen is probably more like an Imperial title to him, because every time he shows up, Fallen just tend to just follow him.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm getting. It's an unofficial title. It's not literally leading all of the Fallen. But the Fallen are not a cohesive warband like that, unless they change the fluff in that book. But they're not a book.
I doubt it, because in the Codex they don't say they're a huge warband. So I think it's going to be more of an Imperial title given to him, like when people proclaim that Cyhper was their hero. It's just myth and legend of him passing by.
Yeah.
And and the Imperial citizens may just go, well, he was the leader, so he must be the lord of them.
Yeah. The whole Kill Team book, though, I mean, that's... Honestly, the Cyhper book is whatever. You can throw it out the window. The Kill Team book is the hot ticket, really. Because whether
if it actually is rules.
Well, even if it doesn't have rules. Because it can open up 2 rules later on. You know what I mean? Because it's not like Cyhper is something that's always kind of been there. He's a Cyhper. He's a dude. Kill Team was always cool with people. I don't think this book's going to have rules personally, but the title is written down its length, not across the top. So who knows? Maybe all bets are off because of that. But Kill Team was always a fun concept, and it would be cool to see that kind of come back in some official capacity. But I'm banking on that there won't be any rules in that book. However, it could provoke rules later on.
Well, I have heard that there have been tournament rules made by other people that made like their own rules for their own tournaments that work pretty well.
Yeah, but
the one thing I'm interested right now in this whole thing is the 4-person campaign and the Cyhper data sheet, because I'm actually planning on... What?
Do we know the title of the 4-person?
Carnage.
Carnage? Okay.
Yep. And I'm interested in that and Cyhper because I have been planning on building my own Cyhper model.
Well, looking at this art thingy for these things, Carnage doesn't really say data slate either, so if
Carnage... it says... you can't see it well on this one, but I found another image of it, and it says Carnage, and on the very bottom of it, it says 4-person scenario.
Right, but I mean, that could lead to people thinking Kill Team may have something.
Possibly.
I could see why people are hopeful. I'm not.
I doubt, that's one thing. I doubt that that they are going to give us Kill Team rules, because we want it.
I mean, it's neither here nor there, really. People want it, but then how many people are actually going to use the rules? I mean, back when Combat Patrol was kind of a big thing, nobody played it anyway. The only way people played it is when we made them play it at the local gaming store.
It's one of these things that I find a lot is there are a lot of options with 40K to play calm, relaxing games and such, but no one wants to focus on that because then they have nothing to complain about. It's like, you have to play with this, and this. It's like, well, we could always just play this scenario that only allows you to do this or this. No, that's stupid, because I can't complain about that.
Yeah, and the thing about Combat Patrol, it's still valid today. All it is 400 points. You cannot have anything with more than 2 wounds. You cannot have anything with a save better than 3. So no Terminators.
Yeah.
And it's 400 points. You have to have one troop choice. That's the only thing specific to it. And that might even be a house thing. But I think you need one troop choice and that's it. As far as required. And it's a fun game. It's a smaller game. And the cool thing about it is you can even kind of do a Seize the Death style or something like that where you pack it full of terrain because you only have 400 points on each side.
Yeah, and the Kill Team games that we played were a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, they may, that's the thing. They may not be official, data slate or whatever it is for some of this stuff, But if you remember it from previous things, you can just basically run it the same.
Yeah, it's like when I once run a line breaker game. I got the rules for line breaker, and we were capable of playing it just fine.
Yeah. So, that's just one thing I want to make clear, because I think sometimes people forget that. They go, well, we don't have official rules for this, so there's no sense in doing anything except complaining. Well, you can play what you remember, and just, you're going to have to modify some house rule scenarios for certain situations, maybe.
But then you'd be blah 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 complaining.
Yeah.
That's one thing that I want to ask you about, because that's something that's been coming up recently along the gaming circuit. By the way, there's a link that you might enjoy.
I saw that.
with Santa Asia.
Yes. Santasia.
So people have been complaining about a lot of the rules and wanting to restrict something with the system and all that.
Right.
And one thing everyone's been complaining about is the ability to ally with oneself. Do you think that should not be allowed? Personally, I was always under the impression you couldn't ally with yourself.
Yeah, I never thought you could. If that is something that is allowed, or like
from my understanding, it's allowed with certain loopholes. Like Space Marines cannot ally with Space Marines. But Raven Guard can ally with Salamanders, and Salamanders can ally with Crimson Fist, and Crimson Fist can ally themselves with Imperial Fist, because they're different chapters in the book. But Dark Angels can't ally with Dark Angels, and Space Wolves can't ally with Space Wolves.
And I'm okay with that, because that makes sense. Because what the Space Marine Codex is, when you're playing it with Chapter Tactics Raven Guard, is you're playing a Raven Guard force, which has different rulings than a Salamander force. Yeah. I'm okay with something like that. I don't think, like, Dark Angels ally with Dark Angels, because that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. It seems like just a cheap way, like, apparently there's a way with Tau. I don't know how you do it. I think it's with the Farsight Enclave, that if you ally with him, you can technically get 4 Riptides.
It just doesn't, first off, like, what's the point? Secondly, it's allying with the self. I mean, there's always, here's the deal. There's always going to be the rules lawyers and rules loopholes exploiters. On either side of the fence, you're going to have people saying, it's kind of like in World of Darkness, when you have people trying to build up the veil or tear it down. You got people like, listen, you can't do anything except, very conservative gameplay rules lawyers who will say, you can't take that upgrade because you took this upgrade because of the way it's worded. And then you're going to have the exact opposite. People are going to say, well, because I did this, I can take a Titan. It's like, wait, what? But it's like, so you're going to have that. I think, in a sense, using the Dark Angels Codex, I don't think you should be able to ally with oneself, because that there's no different rule set, and it's more like, okay, let's say I'm playing Deathwing. I'm going to ally with Ravenwing, or I could just request Ravenwing allies, you know what I mean? Like Ravenwing reinforcements. You just built the army list to include Ravenwing. You don't have to do anything different. So I think in terms like the Space Marine Codex and other codices that may exist like that, like let's say the New Imperial Guard or something similar, or whatever it is, that's fine. I think that's cool. It's one less book to buy also. So.
Now, here's one question that I'm curious about. If you could change one thing in the 40k rule set right now, what would it be and why?
Rule set?
Like, I'll give you the one thing that I know I would change. I would change that there's no way for blast templates to ignore cover. Because it seems kind of silly that an explosion can just go around terrain to hit you. Like, I can understand the flame template because, it's burning everything, but an explosion you're never allowed cover around it. I think in the smaller 40k game scenarios, you should be allowed cover saves for blast templates, regardless.
Okay, I mean, I've always kind of been on the assumption that you could make a save against blast.
There are certain characters like in the Tau Codex, where he just makes you ignore cover regardless. So he could make, like, blast template broadsides ignore cover for everybody.
I'm fine with that. I mean,
But I just feel like that's the one thing I always change is, like, there should be a restriction on that, because how can you make an explosion go around, like, say, a wall that the dude's hiding behind?
Well, I don't know. It all depends on what scenario, but let's say you're hiding in a building. Yeah. If I shot the grenade through the window and then it blew up, you know?
Yeah, but those grenades aren't blast templates.
Well, I'm just using grenade as a grenade weapon, like, like a grenade launcher template, or like if I'm shooting, let's say, the demolisher cannon through a building, you should feel it.
Well, that's again, when that should be a special rule applied to the item itself. A special character should be able to make an explosion magically.
Well, I view it as with Tau, it's with superior technology doing stuff like piercing through just penetrating through terrain.
But that's just the one thing that I think that would be the one thing I would change, is that any ability that any character that allows you to ignore cover should not apply to blast templates. That's just my thing.
I could see both sides. I mean, it makes sense either way. What I would change? See, that's tough, because I think, honestly, I might get flack for this. I think 6th edition did a lot of stuff right. That was a problem in 5th. One thing I guess I would... No, see, I can't even... I would kind of change a little bit on how wound allocation goes for shooting.
Okay.
Just because I get it, like, okay, if you want to use your flamer, you have to put him out in front and around that corner to shoot, and he could take a wound. But at the same time, I liked how it was kind of... I would like to see this. And it doesn't work in every scenario, aka in, like, Tyranids, this wouldn't work. But what I would like to, in terms of the way of describing it. But in that, let's use the Space Marine Tactical Squad. It's got a missile launcher and a flamer in it. They're out shooting. They get taken out. What's to stop somebody from picking up that missile launcher and continue shooting it? You know what I mean? Like, I view special weapons, you should be able to take a wound elsewhere, you know what I mean? Because, hey, the dude with the flamer just died. Let me pick up the gun and continue shooting it.
So essentially, you'd like the old standard rules in 3rd edition for Dark Angels, where the standard bearer died, someone else could pick it up, and you just replace his model with the standard.
Right. I like to see stuff like that for any type of special gear, a standard, a weapon. Now, for certain armies like Tyranids, it doesn't make much sense because their bioweapons are built into it.
You could argue they could eat the dead one and incorporate it into themselves.
Yeah, but then you can have people going, well, is it evolution that quick? And my point is, it's not a perfect system, what I'm suggesting, but something where, now I think something like a sergeant, it can't just replace that, you know?
Yeah, he's a sergeant.
They die. But I like to see the ability just to... I like the fact that you have to stick things out in front, and the only things you can be seeing get shot, there's no more magic bullet scenario.
Yeah.
But I do think there should be something to represent that, because I'm telling you right now, if I was in a Space Marine in a squad, and we're firing down the position, and let's say somebody's got a melted gun, and we're getting ready to take out a tank, and something happens, and he gets taken out, I'm going to pick up that melted gun, I'm going to take out that tank. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's how I view it. I would like to change kind of like wound allocation for shooting, because in close combat, I'm fine with that. And, you know, it's everybody for themselves in a sense at that point. But in shooting, I think, on the one hand, they did a better job with how wounds are for shooting now. But at the same time, and also just, I don't like lookout sirs. I just don't like the concept. I never liked it in fantasy. I don't like it here.
Yeah, it's a little weird. If I were to change anything specifically with one of my armies that I'd say the one thing is in the Eldar Codex, I would change the Howling Banshee mask to have them ignore Overwatch. Because I kind of felt it more like they're screaming, so you're like if you read in any of the books where there's Howling Banshees, the dudes can fight normally when they're in combat, but they're, like, frozen stiff when they see them running at them, screaming at them. And I'm like, so they should not be able to overwatch Howling Banshees. I would rather go up against a dude who has full combat skill, because usually when you're kind of scared like that, you're more like, crap, let me focus on defense so your weapon skill wouldn't really drop. But I would see them going, do I shoot it? Do I not? Do I shoot it? Do I not? And bam, you're in combat.
Well, yeah, because the whole idea of the mask was meant to amplify the screen so they sound like death, basically.
Yeah, so I think that would have been the one thing in an army, per se, that I'd change, is that I think the Howling Banshee mask should make it where you can't shoot Overwatch at them.
No,
I specifically say at them, because that way you can't, like, go... I could launch a bunch of things and make it where they can't shoot as... No, you can still shoot at something as long as it doesn't have a Howling Banshee mask on.
Yeah, I think that's fair. If I was going to change something army-specific that I would use, the only thing I would do is I would put in the Dark Angels Codex the Land Raider Ares. It's an Apocalypse datasheet. It's basically, it's got heavy flame.
Doesn't it have the missile launcher on the top?
No, it's got heavy flame response since it's got an twin link assault cannon on it, and then it's basically a Land Raider Vindicator. It's got a demolisher cannon.
Okay.
It sacrifices troop transport to put a demolisher cannon and a siege shield in front of it.
Okay, so it's like the siege version of the Achilles.
Yeah, the Dark Angels created it, and it got. Eventually, some other chapters accepted, even though the Dark Angels wanted to keep it for themselves. The Tech Marines kind of said, hey, Mechanicum, check this out. And the Dark Angels didn't like that. But it's just because I thought it was a cool thing. It was built specifically for Apocalypse. It's not overpowering at all. It sacrifices troop transport. Its range is 24 inches, essentially, if we're just throwing it out there. But it doesn't have a long range in it. And there's no kit for it, yes, but you can kit bash it pretty, I don't want to say easily, but it wouldn't be that difficult.
You could take the Achilles and just remove the gun sponson from it.
At this point,
and put it in the Demolisher cannon.
Yeah, at this point you could do that, but before that existed, it wasn't even that difficult to do, and I just thought, because, especially considering that the Space Marine Codex got some cool stuff like Thunderfire cannons and whatnot, it'd be kind of cool to... And the thing about the Air is that it was built by Dark Angels to help hunt the Fallen in a heavy area where Vindicators were just too weak on the side armor and stuff to do.
Yeah.
This was meant to support Deathwing straight up. So I would have loved to seen that. And that's the only. I wouldn't change anything. I would just add that unit.
Yeah. No, I can understand. There's really nothing in the Dark Angels Codex that I don't see needing changing. Like, I don't even get why everyone hates our flyers so much. I can understand because they're not super awesome and they're little points heavy, but they're pretty good at what they do.
Yeah. They're flyers that do a specific thing that not everybody understands, and I don't know why they don't understand it, but they don't. The Nephilim, the Nightshade or whatever, the one with the twin link hurricane bolters. I mean, it's got two hurricane bolters on it and a rift cannon, and our jet fighter can change immobilize weapon destroys to immobilize, so we could just drop fighters in 2 turns. Right.
So it's not bad. I think everyone just hates its point cost for its armor that it's got.
Yeah, but people are going to be touchy with that. I can't really think of anything else. Oh yeah, you know what I would change? I would have, I don't know, Farsight make battle suit choices in the regular freaking codex.
But then they wouldn't have the need of the Enclave.
The Enclave can still be there and have all the cool stuff and have the 8 or whatever it is or the 7 that are named.
The 8. Now here's the funny thing about that. Someone, I don't know who, I can't prove it because I don't have the codex with me or anything like that, but one person claims that one of the 8 is in the codex, is in the regular Tau codex.
I'd have to double check on the names because I don't think there is anybody in there.
But, because I sat there because I was playing one game and he's like, yeah, the 8 are great and all that, and I was like, yeah, I'm not used to playing with the Farsight Enclave, I'm not used to all this stuff. He's like, well, when you play that other guy, you should at least have this dude. And I'm like, no, he doesn't have the Enclave. He's like, he's in the Codex. You don't need the Enclave.
What name?
To play him.
Do you remember the name at all?
I don't remember the name. I just remember that they said that he's equivalent to like a Riptide in close combat.
Well, I mean, Because I can tell you, all those name guys, rules-wise, are not in the Codex.
Huh.
There's a name Riptide, but that doesn't mean
Yeah.
what you mean. It's just a name. The 8 are just named things that with slightly unique setups. I mean,
I'm just going off of what I've been told.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think because I can't remember anything that way.
But the one thing, like, everyone always claims, how, like, the Farsight Enclave is really powerful, and yes, it is really powerful, but the problem, like, I've noticed with it in the army is it's only got 3 dudes in it. Literally. And only 1 troop choice.
The problem with a Farsight Enclave, which is why I'm fully prepared to accept, is the fact it's going to be small. Because it's going to be very points-heavy.
Very small. And there's an Eldar scenario that we did that totally screwed the guy over. Whereas, because the 8 they're an HQ choice that doesn't count towards your HQ slot.
Yeah.
They're just dudes. Well, there's an Eldar scenario where all of your HQ units have to be on the board. And so, instead of his regular tactic, which is put the troops in front, put all the HQs in deep strike, he couldn't. They all had to be on the field, and they were all within 6 inches of the center of their deployment zone. So, a mission like that just totally screws them over.
Oh, not really. You mean, it just makes his tactic null and void, but they're still plenty usable in this situation.
It's usable, but if done right with the Eldar scenario, the Eldar can get right in there and just box them in really quickly.
You have good luck boxing in 8 battle suits, one of them Riptide, and not taking horrendous casualties because of it. I mean,
it's totally worth it.
But
throw a bunch of wave serpents around them in a cavalry circle.
They'll blow it up.
They'll blow them up, but then those dudes come out and go, okay, and then they slice them all up to get in close combat.
Then Farsight slices them up in close combat.
Farsight's a chump.
Sure. That's not. It doesn't really screw over them. It takes away the neat tactic of using battle suits to deep strike in. In all honesty, I would never really feel the 8 as the 8. I would just use it for the, not feeling the 8. Like, I feel like if you're feeling the full 8, you're getting some stuff out of it, but you're also obviously putting yourself at a disadvantage in terms of
You've got a huge amount of firepower, but if you use your army correctly, you can take them out pretty easily, and if your dice rolls don't suck. Like, I could have killed some of the 8 without even trying, but I kept rolling, 2s and 1s to wound them, and they kept rolling 5s and 6s for his army.
Oh, yeah. The dice luck is always going to be a determining factor for anything. You could have an army that's going to crush another army. If you roll terribly, you're never going to do it. But it's just like, I don't, the 8 are cool, but when I saw the 8 and the concept and read up on them a little bit, it didn't scream, gotta field them, you know what I mean? It's kind of like how, what is it, Reneus Calgar, I think, can still field, 3 honor guard squads or whatever?
Yeah.
I think he can still do that. But, I've only seen that happen twice, because it's not the most practical thing to do. So, I would just do Farsight Enclave to have battle suits everywhere, because I love me my battle suits.
And your Riptides, you love Riptides.
I don't have, and Riptides are cool, but I don't know if I'd be able to fit them. Because as much
if I ever got a Riptide, it'd probably be the Forge World one, because that thing looks awesome.
That thing is pretty cool, whatever. I don't know what its special rules things is, but it looks pretty cool.
Its special rule is the bigger your base, the more wounds it does to you.
Okay.
It's got this thing on shrapnel attack, where if you're a small base, it only does 1 attack at strength 6. But if you're a Terminator stand, then it does 2 attacks at strength 7, and the bigger the stand, the bigger the number of wounds and strength that it does because of all the shrapnel everywhere.
Gotcha. Which is kind of cool. It's just, honestly, while Riptides are cool, and I definitely like them a lot, I'm also a huge fan of broadsides. I think broadsides
with railguns are nasty.
Yeah, even the new smart missile thing that they get is pretty good too. Especially against orcs and Tyranids, that missile system just destroys them. But
yep, and the whole ignores line of sight and all that is pretty cool.
Yeah, but the thing is, I do like the new broadside suits a lot, but I do miss the old shoulder-mounted broadsides, and I think the Forger ones still exist. I like those,
I like those guys with the underslung cannons.
Yeah.
Those would be the ones I'd pick up if I ever did a Tau Force.
I mean, those are cool. Those are very cool, and I do like the new ones, but I don't know.
The only thing is, I don't like the look of the gun on the new one.
I don't mind the look of the gun. I don't like the fact that it's too, like, the broadside is basically a bulked out Crisis.
Yeah.
And it doesn't. It looks more Diversion than that, and that's one thing I'm not the biggest fan of.
I don't like the gun. It looks like they just ripped off the turret, the turret of a Hammerhead, and then glued a second railgun to it to make it twin wing.
I'm fine with that because I like that aspect of just hey, Chasseur, we're out of Hammerheads, but we have all these railguns. I'll strap it onto a battlesuit then, whatever. It's just like, I don't mind that. It's just, I don't know. I like the idea of having a big gun like that. It makes them feel straight up more anime style. It totally does. It reminds me of, like, Heavy Arms a lot more. But,
Heavy Arms.
But, I don't know, I feel like the legs are too big for it. And I get that they're meant to be stabilizers. I don't know. I miss them being on the shoulders. But it is cool. And I don't know. I would never field them with the missile pack because I think they look cooler without it. But I'm sure it does well enough on whatever it's supposed to do.
Yeah, from what I've heard, not a lot of people are a fan of the railgun setup with them, and I don't see why. The railguns are awesome.
Railguns are cool, but the railguns are not as strong as they used to be on the broadsides.
Oh, yeah.
They used to be straight-up hammerhead railguns without the ability to shoot submunitions. And now they have lesser strength, which I was kind of sad about. But then again, broadsides were really too strong back in the day.
They are very squishy now.
They're not that squishy.
Not too much, but they're squishy.
They're no more squishy than they used to be. It's just their gun isn't as overpowered as it was.
Yeah.
Because you had a squad of 3 broadsides, and you're basically like, which tank do I want to die now? Is how it was. It's like, which tank / anything do I want to kill? Oh, this thing? Okay. It looks like it's marked. Well, we're not gonna miss. Dead. It's just like
yes.
They were tough.
Yeah.
And now they're a little bit less tough, but they're still pretty cool. And the Riptide, I'm a big fan of the Riptide's look a lot.
I do like how it looks.
I do wish it had different weapons, like not the different weapons. Like I wish it wasn't just a heavy burst cannon. I wish it was something different. You know what I mean? Like something cool, like something unique to the Riptide. Not saying that heavy burst cannon isn't necessarily unique, but like a heavy burst cannon or what's the other gun they can put in there?
An ion burst cannon or something like that.
Yeah, whatever.
It's a super ion cannon.
Yeah, whatever it can put in there. It's I just wish there were more. It was more unique for the Riptide, like something just out of this world that you would never see on the Tau thing.
Okay.
But it looks great.
It's interesting, that's for sure. It is a pain in the butt to try and take down.
Oh, I bet it can be. I mean,
it's because it's got the armor save of 2 and the 5-up invuln save, and I just never am able to take those down. No matter what I do, it's crazy.
Yeah, and I just think they look great. I mean, they look.
Oh, they look really awesome.
What I like about them is they look suitably bulky and big, but they also look agile-ish. You know what I mean? They don't look like we can't move. Unlike the Centurions.
Help! We're stuck! Oil can!
I'm not letting that go.
It is a little silly.
Like, I refuse to let that go. The Centurion is just a cool setup. If they just changed a few things, it would be better.
But my understanding, apparently they sit in that thing cross-armed.
Yeah, I don't get it. That's weird.
Yeah, apparently they put their arms across their chests and then they sit in the suit.
Okay, I mean, it's just if they shifted some of the playing around a bit, it wouldn't look like it's impossible to walk. Every time I look at it, I go, how can you walk in that thing? But that's just me, I guess.
Well, we are now out of time.
Yes, and I do want to say in closing, I'm not going to say anything spoilerish, but I did see The Hobbit and I enjoyed myself. So go see it.
Oh, hopefully I'll see it later.
Yes. So, Fearless Gamers, if you enjoy Middle Earth, you'll enjoy that. And I will say, high frame rate, if you can go, it's more money, but high frame rate is totally the way to go. I
hear that.
The first Hobbit, the high frame rate was cool. I think, I don't know if they did anything, if they polish it better for this one, but I felt more immersed in this movie watching it than I did in the first one. Like, there were a couple scenes I'm like, I'm there. I could assist them. But it's like...
No, you couldn't.
But I was like, I'm right there.
I hear cool things about it. I've never seen it, so I can't say.
Yeah.
But I hear that's what Peter Jackson's goal was with this film, was to try and make 60 frames a second the new standard.
Well...
And it was all shot in 5K.
5K? He went above 4K?
Yes, he shot it in 5K natural and dropped it and converted it to 4K.
Gotcha. I'm not a techie guy, so I don't really know what that means, but it sounds cool.
It's a higher resolution.
Right. But I'm just saying, if people have... Because the high frame rate support is a lot more than it was for the first movie, so it should be a bit easier to find a theater that does it for people. If you weren't able to find it last time, it is more expensive, I do believe, but if you can shell out a little bit of the extra cash, I do say it's totally worth it.
And with that also, if you guys, is there any rule that you would change in Warhammer 40k right now? What is it and why? And is there a rule you would add to Warhammer 40k if you could? What is it and why?
Yes, and what everybody should say the stop whining rule, which is stop whining, start playing.
And so, that is all for right now. Thank you all for joining us, and until next time, Fearless Gamers, this is Matt the Vet.
James the Wildcard.
Saying take care.
Peace.
Whoa.